If you're one of the Star Trek fans who just finished watching Picard Season 3 and thought, wait, what? That's it? I want more Star Trek in the 25th century. Then we have some good news for you. While nothing has been greenlit, and there are no announcements as of now for more Star Trek in the Picard timeline, we're going to just come out and say it. That's right, take it from the guys who watched all of Picard Season 3 almost 4 months before the show came out. I mean, there we were on the Paramount lot sifting through Jonathan Frakes' trash with only binoculars and sensitive sound equipment when we happened to see the whole season through an open window into someone's office. Could have happened to anyone. Back to the point. Our intense observation skills combined with several key incidents, as well as what we are hearing from normal channels, makes us believe that Star Trek in the 25th century, or Star Trek Legacy, is definitely happening, and we are going to share all of the signs that we believe prove it. What do we know? A lot. So you don't want to miss this episode. And if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please do so now, and give us a thumbs up if you want more honest pop culture like this. And make sure you stay tuned to the end to see how to get this awesome Star Trek Legacy design from the amazing artists at mixtees.com.
So then, what will it be?
You've probably heard the name Star Trek Legacy bouncing around the internet. Since March 22nd, it's trended on Twitter and TikTok multiple times. The name Star Trek Legacy was coined by Star Trek Picard Season 3 showrunner Terry Matalas when he was asked what he would name a show continuing the current story if he was asked to do it. In a tweet, he called it a spin-off show from Star Trek Picard, a 25th century show that explores the last generation and the next. This hit Twitter about 8 hours before Episode 6 was released by Paramount+. And of course, that episode, titled The Bounty, showcased a Federation fleet museum with Star Trek ships that spanned all 50+ years of the franchise. No Trek fan would have ever expected to see all those ships on the same screen together, ever. Following that episode would be the first time Star Trek Legacy trended on Twitter, and it's where we find our first piece of evidence that Star Trek Legacy will happen. After the Matalas tweet and the following fan reaction, CBS wasted no time buying the domain name, StarTrekLegacy.com. We know because we checked following Matalas' tweet. The name had been for sale by a private owner for $5,000. The very next day, CBS Studios Inc. published the domain name and moved it to the Paramount.com name servers. Why would the studio do this if they had no plans to make Star Trek Legacy? And let's be clear, up until this point, there were absolutely no plans for Matalas to do any Star Trek shows following Picard. And that isn't a huge surprise considering Picard was always supposed to go only 3 seasons. But even following the purchase of the domain name, sources said all was quiet on the Western Front. Despite a fantastic premiere and 5 solid weeks of shows that had fans whispering this might be the best season of Star Trek in 20+ years, insiders were reporting that Star Trek Legacy in any name was colder than Siberia.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
But we believe this was likely the point that the studio was beginning to realize Legacy would have to be dealt with. And as it turns out, there was a pretty good reason why they were quiet about Star Trek after Picard. It got in the way of their plans.
But you know what they say, best laid plans.
Only 3 weeks before Legacy was born, Star Trek Discovery's cancellation had been announced. Fans of that show were not happy about it, and Picard Season 3's success may have been a little salt in the wound. The studio would not want to hype more Trek in the 25th century right after canceling Trek in the 32nd century. I mean, they had plans all along to continue Trek following Discovery, but they weren't ready to release that news yet. And why wouldn't you wait for, say, First Contact Day in only a few short weeks to announce a Discovery spin-off?
Duh! It's,
Star Trek Legacy was becoming a problem. Some crazy YouTubers started a Change.org petition, and every news site covering entertainment was trying to plot out what a Picard spin-off show would look like. And the only thing fans seem to have on their minds is that Picard Season 3 should never end. Terry Matalas mania was starting to set in with fans who felt like he had the pulse of what Star Trek should be moving forward. To say the studio didn't see this coming is an understatement. Fans didn't know where Alex Kurtzman found this guy, but he was perfect for Star Trek. The problem was, how do you hype the next Star Trek show you've been planning for more than a year when the chants for Star Trek Legacy keep getting louder? Well, the answer is, you don't wait until no one can hear you.
I hear you.
So only a week after Matalas announced his theoretical legacy, Legacy show, Paramount drops the news on a Starfleet Academy show. Never before had March 30th been so eventful for Star Trek. Why didn't the studio wait 6 more days to announce Academy on First Contact Day, when fans are most primed for news? Because they needed to change the news cycle sooner than expected. Discovery fans were grumbling, and Picard fans were getting louder. The announcement of Academy immediately appeases Discovery fans and would quiet the chance for Star Trek Legacy, or so they believed. And let's be clear, it's not that they don't want a Star Trek Legacy show, it's that it's not part of the plans they've been developing for a long time. No one saw Matalas coming in and making waves like this with the 3rd season of Picard. But instead of quieting calls for a new Matalas show, the Academy announcement was like a speed bump for the monster truck-sized fan excitement for Star Trek Legacy.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Then on April 14th, Picard season news dropped that no one saw coming, and it would be a game changer. But before we tell you about that game-changing news, please help us keep the lights on by listening to a quick message about this video sponsor. Bespoke Post is an exciting monthly membership club delivering a box of awesome top-shelf goods from under-the-radar brands. It's free to join, and you can skip a month or cancel anytime. We love Bespoke Post because 90% of the products come from small brands, many of which are based right here in the United States. For example, the American Barbecue Rub in the Carnivore box is made by the Great American Spice Company in Rockford, Michigan. Every month, Bespoke Post introduces members to cool new products that include outdoor gear, barware, home and kitchen goods, clothing, and more. They even have live oysters. Everything you get is based on a preference quiz that you fill out when you become a member. Each box of Awesome has around $70 worth of goods inside, but costs you only a fraction of the value. You get a box of Awesome assigned to you, and before it's shipped, you'll get a preview of what's to come so you can keep it, swap it for a different box, or even skip the month entirely for no charge. You only pay for what you want. We really like the Siphon box that includes a cool and different way to make coffee, as well as the Park box, which has the perfect chair on the go. To get 20% off your first box of Awesome, click the link in the description and enter the Popcast20 at checkout, or go to bespokepost.com/thepopcast20 right after this video. You'll be glad you did.
Contract or no, I will not bow to any sponsor.
The news that no one saw coming on April 14th was Nielsen's top 10 rated original programming shows, and Star Trek Picard was number 9. This was a Star Trek first for Nielsen, and only the 2nd time for Paramount Plus, who had the Yellowstone spinoff 1923 crack the top 10 as well. And what makes this even more impressive is that most of the other shows above Picard were on streamers like Netflix and Disney Plus, who have significantly more subscribers than Paramount. And what made this interesting is the numbers were taken around the 4th episode of the series, and the show's popularity only grew more from there. We believe it's at this moment Paramount executives began to realize they weren't going to be able to ignore Star Trek in the 25th century.
What's going on? I don't know, but that damn thing's getting bigger.
And it's also about this time that what we were hearing from inside sources became more about what we weren't hearing. The constant chatter about there being nothing to report stopped altogether. In no way does this mean the studio was prepared to greenlight Star Trek Legacy, but it's more likely things went from not gonna happen to, hold up, we need to talk about this.
Wait, what did you just say?
The one thing that we can say for sure is that this is the most the human collective has hyped up Star Trek in decades, and Paramount wasn't about to let rampant fan excitement go away without getting some mileage from it. Whispers of the Picard Season 3 finale being played on IMAX had been around for weeks, but news on it officially broke April 10th. Live fan screenings would take place at 10 participating IMAX theaters in major cities around the country. In for a penny, in for a pound, Paramount also dropped the announcement of a Star Trek Section 31 movie the day before the IMAX event takes place. Kudos to Paramount Public Relations for dominating the news cycle. While some people saw this as distracting from a Star Trek Legacy show, we think it was just an opportunity to ride the wave and capitalize on the excitement. But the real proof that Star Trek Legacy will happen is what happened during the IMAX event. Kurtzman, while being interviewed by Fox LA, was asked about the fan outcry for Star Trek Legacy. His response was, "Anything is possible. We've heard the fans loud and clear. There's obviously more story to tell, so we'll see." Many people have been focusing on the fact that he seems perturbed during the interview, reading that he doesn't like Star Trek Legacy, but we don't see it that way at all. Look at his words, loud and clear. There's obviously more story to tell. These are not the words you use when you're trying to avoid doing something.
Here's the problem.
How does he squeeze in a Star Trek Legacy show when he already has a full slate of shows to do? We have to remember that in February, Paramount announced that its streaming would reach a peak in 2023, which means they expect to stream less shows in 2024. They have to cut back in order to turn a profit. Now, that doesn't mean they have to cut back Star Trek, but when you consider that the franchise is already putting out 50 weeks of new content each year, it doesn't leave a lot of room for another show. Well, Picard is ending, so that leaves a show opening, right? It doesn't, because the plan wasn't to replace Picard with another series. It was to replace it with a series of movies and miniseries. Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, Prodigy, and Starfleet Academy would account for 40 weeks, with the movies and special miniseries making up the other 10 weeks of content. The movies and special miniseries would actually save the studio money, so this leaves no room for an entirely new series. So Kurtzman's response during the interview was more likely frustration at not being able to squeeze another sardine into the already full can. Kurtzman has no problem changing direction when fans clearly voice what they want. When Captain Pike stole the show during Discovery Season 2, fans began calling loudly for a Captain Pike spin-off series. A Change.org petition was started by fans, and when it reached nearly 30,000 signatures, Kurtzman came out and said, "The fans have been heard loud and clear." Sound familiar? Guess what? The Star Trek Legacy Change.org petition is, as of this video, still don't think Star Trek Legacy is coming? Then how about this? Following the IMAX screening in Los Angeles, Kurtzman, Matalas, and our other Star Trek legends took the stage for a Q&A. The moderator begins by asking Kurtzman about Matalas and what they had planned going into Season 3. Kurtzman said that
Terry was the perfect person to do it on so many levels because I think he understands at the deepest level as a fan, as an audience member, as someone who just knows Trek like the back of his hand, exactly what you want to feel and how you want to feel it when you bring everybody back.
In short, Kurtzman said he felt that they were in great hands with him. This is lavish praise that we have never heard before from Alex, especially about Terry. We attended the premiere, and the only thing he had to say at that time was Terry did a good job. And frankly, it didn't feel like he meant it. Maybe he was having a bad day. Maybe he didn't think Picard Season 3 would blow up the way it did. But the way he spoke about him for Episode 1 and Episode 10 were night and day, and Matalas deserved to hear every word of it. The bottom line is, you don't refer to him as someone who is the perfect person to make Trek, who knows Trek like the back of his hand and knows exactly how to make the audience feel and not give that guy more Star Trek. And you certainly don't say it publicly to the whole world and then put him on the last train to Clarksville. And if all of that doesn't convince you that some form of Star Trek Legacy is coming, we'll give you one more example. At the end of the IMAX Q&A, the moderator makes a bold statement. He says,
I have a feeling, especially Captain 7, we're going to see a whole lot more Star Trek to come with these people.
And at that moment, Matalas interrupts him and says there is one more person he wants to mention. And if you're paying close attention, it sounds as if Matalas is stopping him from saying whatever he is about to say next. People who were at the event said it sounded like the moderator was about to make an announcement and he was cut off. Was he about to spill the beans on Star Trek Legacy? What did he mean by, "This isn't over, and I have a feeling we'll be seeing a lot more of Captain 7 and these people on the stage"? We don't know for certain what was about to be said, but the one thing we can say is that something feels like it is cooking behind the scenes, and all of our popcast spidey senses are telling us that in some shape or form, Star Trek Legacy is going to happen, and outstanding showrunner Terry Matalas is going to be a part of it. What could this mean? Honestly, chances of it being a full-on show with 10-episode seasons is probably unlikely. Paramount has painted itself into a corner. But what that does leave us with is movies and a limited run series. Could Matalas continue telling his story over the course of a couple of movies or a limited series? Absolutely. And based on the success of that material, could it end up replacing one of the other shows at the end of their run? Absolutely. In our opinion, it's not a matter of if, but when. But what do you think? Does the evidence point to a new Star Trek Legacy with Terry Matalas, or was this all we'll see of the next generation? Would you like to see Q testing Jack as he once did Picard as the Enterprise heads out on a new 5-year mission? Or is it time to put the story to rest? Let's talk about it in the comments below. And if you're excited about the idea of more Star Trek in the 25th century created by showrunner Terry Matalas, head over to change.org and sign the petition. Add your name to the list of nearly 30,000 fans who want to see more. And don't forget our Star Trek Legacy design in our store. Get 20% off your purchase by using coupon code THEPOPCAST. The link is in the description below.